The wine hit her dress like a slap, dark and cold, soaking to the fabric in seconds. The entire ballroom went silent. Every eye turned to watch the red stain spread across her chest, dripping onto the marble floor beneath her feet. She didn't move, didn't speak, didn't even blink. Just stood there in the middle of the crowd while the billionaire and his girlfriend laughed, their voices echoing off the crystal chandeliers. No one knew that the woman they were humiliating owned the company behind the $800 million deal they were celebrating. No one knew that with one phone call, she could take it all away, and she did. The ballroom smelled like champagne and expensive perfume. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling like frozen waterfalls, throwing soft gold light across marble floors, so polished you could see your reflection. Everyone in the room wore designer clothes and diamond jewelry that caught the light with every movement. Laughter echoed off the high walls. Glasses clinked. This was a Hexton Global Gala, and everyone who mattered in the business world was here tonight. Ilera Wynn stood near the entrance in a simple charcoal dress that probably cost less than the champagne flutes being passed around on silver trays. She didn't wear jewelry. Her dark hair was pulled back in a low bun, neat but plain. She looked like someone who'd wandered into the wrong party. No one noticed her arrive. No one turned to look. She was a shadow in a room full of spotlights. She moved slowly through the crowd, her hands empty, her face calm. She wasn't trying to catch anyone's attention. She just walked, weaving between clusters of men in tailored suits and women draped in silk and satin. The music was soft, orchestral, meant to make everything feel important. Ilera felt the weight of it pressing down on her chest, but she kept her breathing steady. She'd learned a long time ago how to disappear in plain sight. Near the center of the room, a massive screen displayed the Hexton Global logo. Beneath it, bold letters announced the reason for tonight's celebration. Partnership deal with Wintech, $800 million. Ilera stopped walking when she saw it. She stood very still, staring at the screen, her lips pressed together, just a little. Then she turned away and kept moving. At the far end of the ballroom, near the VIP section roped off with velvet cords, a man stood holding a glass of whiskey. Adrian Crest, Billionaire, CEO of Hexton Global. His suit was custom-made, midnight blue with a crisp white shirt underneath. His hair was swept back, and his jaw was sharp enough to cut glass. He looked like the kind of man who'd never heard the word no in his entire life. Next to him stood Celine Hart. She was stunning in a way that demanded attention. Red dress that clung to her like liquid fire, diamond earrings that swung when she turned her head, lips painted the color of fresh blood. She leaned into Adrian, laughing at something he'd said, her hand resting on his chest like she owned him. Celine's eyes drifted across the crowd, bored, looking for something interesting. That's when she saw Ilera. She nudged Adrian with her elbow. "Who is that?" Adrian followed her gaze. His eyes landed on Ilera, who was now standing near the edge of the VIP section, not trying to get in, just standing there quietly, watching the crowd. He frowned. No idea. Probably one of the assistants who got lost. Celine's lips curled into a smile. She doesn't look like she belongs here. She doesn't. They both stared at Ilera for a long moment. Then Celine straightened up, setting her champagne glass down on a passing tray. "Let's have some fun." Adrian raised an eyebrow. "What are you thinking?" "You'll see." Celine walked toward Ilera, her heels clicking sharply against the marble. Adrian followed, curious now, a smirk playing at the corner of his mouth. A few people nearby noticed him moving and turned to watch. Whispers started. Phones came out. Ilera didn't notice them approaching until Celine stopped right in front of her, close enough that Ilera had to take a step back. "Excuse me," Celine said, her voice loud enough to carry. "Are you lost?" Ilera looked at her. Up close, Celine's smile looked like a knife. Ilera didn't answer right away. She just blinked calm, waiting. "I asked you a question," Celine said, louder now. More people were looking. The music seemed quieter. "I'm not lost," Ilera said softly. Celine laughed. It was a sharp, cutting sound. "Really? Because you don't look like someone who should be here. This is a VIP event. Invitation only. Did you sneak in?" Adrian stepped forward, arms crossed, looking down at Alara like she was something stuck to the bottom of his shoe. "You work here, don't you?" Probably one of the catering staff trying to get a peek at how the other half lives. Alara didn't flinch. She just looked at him with those quiet, unreadable eyes. "I was invited." Celine snorted. "Invited? By who?" Alara didn't answer. The silence stretched out. People were gathering now, forming a loose circle around them. Phones were definitely recording. This was going to be a story people told tomorrow. Adrian leaned in closer. "Let me guess. You saw the announcement about the big deal with Wintech and thought you'd crash the party to see what real success looks like. Pathetic." Alara's jaw tightened, just barely, but she didn't say anything. Celine grabbed a glass of red wine from a passing waiter. She held it up, tilting it slightly, watching the dark liquid swirl. Then she looked at Alara. "You know what I think?" Celine said sweetly, "I think you need to learn your place." She tipped the glass forward. The wine poured out in a slow, deliberate stream, splashing down the front of Alara's charcoal dress. Dark red soaked into the fabric, spreading across her chest, dripping down to floor. The room went silent. Even the music seemed to stop. Alara stood perfectly still. Her hands hung at her sides. Wine dripped from the hem of her dress, pooling at her feet. She didn't gasp. She didn't cry out. She just stood there, soaked, staring straight ahead. Adrian laughed. It was a loud, ugly sound. "That's what you get for pretending to be important." Celine handed the empty glass to a nearby waiter, not even looking at Alara anymore. "Someone should call security. Get her out of here." Alara finally moved. She looked down at her dress, then back up at Celine. Her face was still calm, but something had shifted in her eyes. Something cold. She didn't say a word. She just turned and walked toward the exit. Slowly, steadily. The crowd parted for her. No one tried to stop her. They just watched, some with pity, some with amusement, most with indifference. Alara walked out of the ballroom, past the grand entrance, into the cool night air. The heavy doors closed behind her with a soft thud. Inside, the party resumed. Laughter returned. Glasses clinked again. Adrian and Celine went back to the VIP section, already forgetting about the strange woman in the plain dress. But then, 5 minutes later, the lights dimmed. The massive screen at the front of the room flickered. The music cut out. Everyone stopped talking. The Hexton Global logo appeared on the screen, and beneath it, bold red letters. Urgent announcement. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Adrian frowned, glancing at the stage where the board members were supposed to give their speech later. No one was there yet. Then the message changed. The $800 million partnership with Wintech has been canceled effective immediately. The murmur turned into confused shouting. Adrian's face went pale. Celine grabbed his arm. "What is that? What's happening?" Adrian pulled out his phone, already dialing. "I don't know. This has to be a mistake." The screen changed again. Reason for cancellation. Breach of professional conduct by Hexton Global representatives. Adrian's phone buzzed. He looked down. It was a message from the chairman of the board. "Get to the conference room." Now, he shoved his phone back into his pocket and started pushing through the crowd toward the side exit. Celine followed, stumbling in her heels. They burst into the conference room on the second floor. The entire board was there, huddled around a laptop, faces tight with panic. What the hell is going on? Adrian demanded. The chairman looked up at him. His face was ashen. "You just humiliated the owner of Wintech." Adrian blinked. "What?" The chairman turned the laptop around. On the screen was a photo, a professional headshot, black and white, elegant and unmistakable. It was Alara Wynn. Adrian felt the floor drop out from under him. Celine's hand flew to her mouth. "That's her," the chairman said quietly. "Alara Wynn, founder and sole owner of Wintech. She owns the company we were about to sign an $800 million deal with. And you poured wine on her." The room was silent, except for the faint sound of the party, still going on downstairs. Adrian couldn't breathe. Adrian stared at the screen, like it was in change if he looked hard enough. It didn't. Ilara's face stared back at him, calm and professional. The same quiet woman he'd laughed at 10 minutes ago. The woman Celine had drenched in wine. The woman he'd called pathetic. The chairman closed the laptop with a sharp click. Do you have any idea what you've done? Adrian's mouth opened, but no sound came out. His brain was trying to catch up, trying to make sense of it, but everything felt slow and thick, like he was moving underwater. Celine let out a shaky breath. That can't be her. She looked like nobody. She didn't even try to stop us. The chairman turned on her, his voice cold. She didn't have to stop you. She owns a company that was about to make us the most profitable deal in Hexton Global's history. And now she's pulled out. Completely. No negotiation. No second chance. It's over. Adrian finally found his voice. Call her. I'll apologize. I'll fix this. The chairman laughed, but it was bitter, empty. You think an apology is going to fix this? You humiliated her in front of 100 people. It's already all over social media. Video clips. Photos. Everyone knows what you did. Adrian pulled out his phone. His hands were shaking. He scrolled through his messages, his emails, looking for anything from Wintech, from Ilara, from anyone who could help him undo this. There was nothing. Just a formal termination notice sent to the entire Hexton board. Celine sank into a chair, her face pale beneath her makeup. This is insane. How were we supposed to know who she was? One of the board members, an older woman with gray hair pulled tight into a bun, spoke up. She was on the guest list. Her name was there. If either of you had bothered to check, you would have known. Adrian felt his stomach twist. He scrolled back through the event app on his phone. There it was, halfway down the VIP guest list. Ilara Wintech, owner/CEO. He'd never even looked. I need to talk to her, Adrian said, his voice cracking. Where is she? Where did she go? The chairman shook his head. She left, got in a car and drove away. Her assistant sent the termination notice 5 minutes later. It's done, Adrian. You destroyed this deal. Adrian stood up so fast his chair fell backward. Then I'll go to her. I'll go to her office. I'll wait outside her building. I'll do whatever it takes. She won't see you. You don't know that. The chairman leaned forward, his voice low and dangerous. I do know that, because I tried to call her myself. Her assistant answered, said Ms. Wynn has no interest in further communication with Hexton Global or any of its representatives. She's moved on. Adrian felt the panic rising in his chest, hot and tight. This couldn't be happening. Not like this. He'd worked for months on this deal. Months of meetings, negotiations, presentations. Wintech was the key to everything. Their expansion into international markets, their stock prices, their reputation. Without this deal, Hexton Global was just another mid-tier company scrambling for relevance, and he destroyed it in 5 minutes. Celine stood up, her voice desperate. We'll release a statement. We'll say it was a misunderstanding. We'll spin it. The chairman looked at her like she'd just suggested setting the building on fire. Spin it? There's video footage of you pouring wine on her. What exactly are you to spin? Celine's face crumpled. She turned to Adrian, grabbing his arm. Do something. Fix this. But Adrian wasn't looking at her. He was staring at nothing, his mind racing. He thought about Ilara's face when the wine hit her dress. She hadn't screamed, hadn't cried, hadn't even looked angry. She just stood there, silent, like she'd expected it, like she was used to people treating her that way, and then she'd walked out. No scene, no threats, just left. That was the worst part. She didn't even care enough to fight back. Adrian grabbed his jacket off the back of the chair. I'm going to find her. Adrian, I'm going. He stormed out of the conference room, Celine stumbling after him. They pushed through the side exit, back into the ballroom where the party was still going, though the mood had shifted. People were whispering, glancing at their phones, looking toward Adrian with something between pity and disgust. He ignored them and headed straight for the main doors. Outside, the night air was cold and sharp. Adrian's driver was waiting by the curb. Adrian yanked the car door open and climbed in. Celine followed. Wintech headquarters. Adrian barked at the driver. The driver hesitated. "Sir, it's almost 11 o'clock. The building will be closed." "I don't care." "Drive." The car pulled away from the curb, cutting through the quiet city streets. Adrian sat rigid in the back seat, his jaw clenched, his hands balled into fists. Celine sat beside him, silent now, staring out the window. 20 minutes later, they pulled up in front of a sleek glass tower in the financial district. The lights were off except for a few scattered windows near the top. The lobby was dark. Adrian got out anyway. He walked up to the front doors and pulled. Locked. He pressed his face against the glass, looking for any sign of movement inside. Nothing. "Adrian." Celine's voice was quiet behind him. "She's not here. She has to be. She's not." Adrian slammed his hand against the glass. The sound echoed in the empty street. He stood there for a long moment, breathing hard, staring at his own reflection in the dark glass. Then his phone buzzed. He pulled it out. It was an email from the Hexton Global Board. The subject line made his blood run cold. "Emergency meeting. 8 a.m. tomorrow. Your position under review." Adrian read it twice. Then a third time. His position under review. They were going to fire him. He looked up at the dark building in front of him, then back at his phone. He thought about Alara again, about the way she looked at him right before she left. Calm, cold, like he was nothing. And maybe he was. Celine took his arm gently. "Come on, let's go." Adrian didn't move. "Adrian." He finally turned away from the building and got back in the car. The driver didn't ask where to go next. He just drove them back toward Adrian's penthouse in silence. When they got there, Adrian went straight to his office. He poured himself a drink, then another, then another. Celine sat on the couch, watching him, saying nothing. Around 2 in the morning, Adrian's phone buzzed again. Another email, this time from a journalist. "Mr. Crest, we're running a story tomorrow about the incident at the Hexton Gala. Would you like to comment?" Adrian didn't reply. By morning, the story was everywhere. Video clips, photos, think pieces about corporate arrogance and the treatment of women in business. Alara's name was trending. So was Adrian's, but for very different reasons. At 8 o'clock, Adrian sat in the Hexton Global Boardroom, facing 12 stone-faced executives. The chairman sat at the head of the table. "We've reviewed the situation," the chairman said, "and we've made a decision." Adrian's hands gripped the arms of his chair. "Effective immediately, you are removed as CEO of Hexton Global. Celine Hart's consulting contract is terminated. You'll both be escorted out of the building within the hour." Adrian opened his mouth to argue, to beg, to explain. But the words wouldn't come. It was over. Later that day, as Adrian packed up his office, his assistant knocked on the door. She looked uncomfortable. "There's someone here to see you," she said quietly. Adrian looked up. "Who?" She didn't give her name, but she said, "You want to see her?" Adrian frowned and followed his assistant out into the hallway. And there, standing by the elevator, was Alara Wynn. She wore a tailored navy suit, her hair down now, glasses perched on her nose. She looked every bit the CEO she was. Adrian stopped walking. His heart pounded in his chest. Alara looked at him for a long moment. Then she spoke, her voice calm and even. "I came to tell you something," she said. "I didn't cancel the deal because you embarrassed me. I canceled it because you show me exactly who you are. And I don't do business with people like you." She turned and pressed the elevator button. Adrian found his voice. "I'm sorry." Alara looked back at him. "I know." The elevator doors opened. She stepped inside. "But sorry doesn't undo what you did," she said. "It just makes you feel better about it." The doors closed, and she was gone